Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of my favourite games of all time, but the ending third of this game has like a permanent weirdness that nobody seems to want to acknowledge. Today I'm going to acknowledge that weirdness. Some of this stuff is so insane, I don't know how Rockstar left it in. I think at this point I need to talk about it for my own sanity. First, let me say, Arthur Morgan, his ending, his character arc was genuinely fantastic. I loved it. If you played with good karma, anyway. Rockstar did not care about the evil karma endings at all. I'm just gonna start by talking about what was easily the most ridiculous scene in the entire game. It's the scene where Arthur returns after saving Abigail, and all the tension culminates and the gang finally splits apart. How it begins, I actually love. Arthur riding in, just talking mad shit because he's got nothing left to lose.
You wretch. All of you.
I love that, but it's very quickly downhill from here. Listen, I know Grimshaw was kind of annoying, but Micah shoots her in front of everyone and nobody even pretends to care. I would at least pretend. Oh no, Grimshaw, I would pretend at least. She was in the gang for 22 years, the least we can do is pretend. She's there screaming in the background for the rest of the cutscene and everyone's just pretending not to notice. Grimshaw, I haven't seen her. And then Dutch goes, which one of you is betraying me? Meanwhile, Micah's there literally just shooting into his own teammates. I don't know, Dutch, check the kill feed. And then Dutch points a gun at Arthur for some reason, especially since it's a standoff. You can't just shoot someone in a standoff and then go straight back to standing off. What are we even standing off for if that's the case?
No more cards game.
Ease up there, friend.
There must be a name for this.
An impasse, sir. An impasse. We could all die here and now.
There must be a name for this. An impasse, sir. Mrs. Grimshaw could die here and now. Yes, they do look at Javier for a second, but that's not good enough, Micah. You can't just get away with that. It could just be how little they care about Grimshaw, though. Like, I get it. She's not worth the trouble. All right, fair enough. But that's just the beginning, because then John, who we last saw getting shot off a train, just wanders on in. The way he just walks in makes it look like he walked all the way back to camp on foot, which is ridiculous. And at some point, he stops to change his clothes as well. The first time I saw John get shot off that train, I was like, oh, for God's sake. Let me explain why. Red Dead 1 spoilers ahead. John gets shot in Blackwater before the game starts, then left alone up a mountain for some reason. He gets eaten by wolves, kidnapped in Valentine and taken hostage, arrested in the bank robbery despite it being a massive firefight, shot off the train, then left alone again for some reason, shot by Marion at the start of Red Dead 1, shot by Dutch right in the binoculars, then shot 100 more times during the ending. John must have eaten a devil fruit because somehow he's immune to bullets and he can't swim. Getting shot is bad enough, but they had to throw him off a train too, just to make it as stupid as possible. Rockstar have two classic go-to moves they love doing. The first is hurt John. They just love hurting John. The second one I'll bring up in a second, but it's very funny. First, I want to say a few more things about this scene. Yeah, at one point Arthur is like, Mike is a rat, Milton told me. And Mike was like, why are you believing what some cop told you? And I was like, honestly, Micah, that's a very good point. Why are we believing this guy? So a second ago, I mentioned Rockstar having two typical moves when they want to up the stakes. Things they love doing. They either hurt John, or, the second even more common thing, they have aliens abduct someone. What I mean is they take someone hostage, but they never quite explain exactly how. They just kind of...
We hid, but they took Abigail. They took my son.
Arthur, they got Bill.
They got Micah.
Uncle's gone.
Bill.
Everyone gets kidnapped, taken hostage, whatever you want to call it. It's ridiculous. John, Abigail, Jack, Uncle. That's John's entire family, by the way. Arthur, Sean, Tilly, Javier, Micah, Sadie, Trelawney, twice, I think. Bill, Strauss, Hosea. I may have even forgotten some, but you get what I'm saying. It happens a lot. Rockstar like the kid that always picks rock in rock, paper, scissors. What should we do? Kidnap someone. Every single time. The gang gets one kidnapping, Bronte, which was a fine kidnapping, I must say. And we also kidnapped Kieran, but that one doesn't count. That gets cancelled out because they kidnap him back again. Anytime they want some stakes, they just kidnap someone. Rockstar do it because we care about the characters. They're great characters, so it does work. You do care when someone gets kidnapped, but it is mental how often it happens. Aside from Micah, the only people who don't get taken are people the player wouldn't really care that much about getting back. Like Swanson, Pearson, Miss Grimshaw, because the player would just be like, keep them. So when John got shot, I rolled my eyes. But then when Abigail got kidnapped minutes later, they haven't stopped rolling since. Why does Milton kidnap Abigail anyway? That's like kidnapping Pearson. What's even the point? The characters were definitely the highlight of this game. That's why when they get kidnapped, you actually care. Like when Jack gets kidnapped, you are right there with them. The characters really are great. In a way, they do kind of feel like genuine people. But there is one character, however, that doesn't quite live up to the standards set by the other characters. 3-dimensional, 2-dimensional, 1-dimensional. Micah Bell is every single bad trait a human can possibly have rolled into one guy. Manipulative, disloyal, cruel, greedy, selfish. He's got no game, he's mean to Jack, he kicks a dog, and he's got zero business dressing like this. I could go on. And I will. He kills an entire town of people just for some guns. He makes fun of Arthur for having tuberculosis. That dog he kicked, he ended up killing it. He was even the entire reason the Blackwater robbery went wrong, which means the entire game, us running east again and again and again and again, away from the Pinkertons again and again and again, was all his fault. The entire game is his fault. Even his friends are stereotypical villains. Look at these guys. No good. I would have disappeared Micah by the end of chapter 2. Wow, Micah, I found the Blackwater money behind these trees. Come have a look. People threaten to kill Micah all the time, but it just never happens. Also, he's only been in the gang for about 5 months. Arthur's been around for 20 years. Micah is just backfill by comparison. Micah's outlook is a nihilistic, living and dying, that's all there is, survival of the fittest type gimmick. I like that. I do like Micah, but it's almost cartoony how much shit he does, how horrible he is, and yet he just gets away with it constantly. But in a game about characters, having a cartoon character, having Patrick Star show up and be so integral to the story feels a bit weird. I think Grimshaw's death broke my brain because he just gets away with so much, even shooting his own people. Maybe if he had some charisma, if he told jokes or something, he did magic tricks, he's just an unrepentant weasel. Even his death has like a comedic, welp kind of thing. If Micah was some silver-tongued devil that most people in the gang actually loved, it would make so much more sense. Micah, you are the worst human being I've ever encountered. You make everyone around you miserable, and your presence is actively destroying this gang and Dutch's mind. Now get the hell out of here, Strauss. My point is, if he were more rounded, you could understand Dutch listening to him more. As it is, there's very little reason for Dutch to actually listen to him. I think the canon, rockstar reason Dutch listens to Micah so much is that Dutch is stupid with a big ego. I'm not kidding. Micah feeds Dutch's ego, and Dutch is too stupid to see it as just sycophancy. Listen to Lenny's father talk about Dutch's favourite writer in the entire world.
My pa used to speak about intellectuals like him as the scourge of the American mind. Thinkers who think and spout pretty sayings and say nothing of any great interest.
You're breaking my poor, stupid heart.
This is Rockstar telling us Dutch is on par with Ralph Wiggum. Charisma 10, intelligence 0. Evelyn Miller is philosophically jangling keys in front of Dutch's eyes, and any character with a brain sees zero value in his writing. There's dialogue of Abigail, Micah, Lenny, and Arthur all seeing right through it. Even Bill, in a way.
Mr. Miller ain't really my thing, you know that.
This is all just to say that Dutch is a dumbass. They even, they hit him on the head really hard in one mission. I don't know why. Just to sort of hammer home, he's a dummy! Look how fucking hard we just hit him on the head. Ain't no way his brain works after that. There's actually a random event. It's a rare one. If you go up to Dutch's tent, you can actually hear him inside eating paste. It's after the bank robbery that everything falls apart, even the writing. It kind of feels like an entirely different studio took over the game. There's a massive shift in tone that lasts right up until the ending. Even some of the side missions become weird. The best example of this would be Guarma. I mentioned kidnapping earlier. In Guarma, everyone gets kidnapped in one go.
Who are you? Senor, por favor.
I feel like Guarma was meant to be single-player DLC where Arthur has a dream on the boat and he dreams of the boat capsizing and he ends up on Guarma. But then Rockstar remembered, oh, we don't make single-player DLC anymore, so they just stuck it in the game anyway.
Mister, why did you leave me here? You gotta get me out, please. It's getting worse.
You know, you should really get out more.
Are you seriously making fun of me? I've been kidnapped. Help me, you bastard!
Okay, I'll catch you later, dude.
You're a good man, Arthur Morgan. Good man.
I think most of you will agree with me that the good karma ending where you help John was definitely canon in Rockstar's mind. It feels like the entire game was built with good karma Arthur in mind. If you replay the game as an evil Arthur, you were probably disappointed by how little change it actually makes to the story or anything. Mostly the changes that good and bad karma makes are to voice lines that you would never even notice have changed anyway.
Howdy there, partner.
Help a blind man.
Like, for some reason, even the evil Arthur in the story still does weirdly altruistic things of his own accord. My Arthur was a bastard! One time I found a guy who'd been bitten by a snake. I saved him by sucking the venom out of his wound. Then I shot his horse so he'd have to walk home. And I guess he survived because he bought me a gun later for some reason. Point is, my Arthur was not a nice guy. I don't know why my Arthur is helping rains fall and forgiving debts. My Arthur would have taken that kid's shoes.
Swimming, it takes time, but then it's easy. And the whole world opens to you.
It's a lot easier to wave it around than use it.
You're a good man, Arthur.
The karma system makes it so, if you're good Arthur, the beginning of the game feels weird, because Arthur is beating people to death for money and being rude. But if you play as the devilish, mean Arthur, the ending of the game feels weird, because you're forced to help people and be nice to them. Gameplay Arthur and cutscene Arthur are from two entirely different universes. I do get it, it's because in the story, Arthur, facing his mortality, wants to do some good with his final days on Earth, to give John another chance in life. Which is why him then ditching John for some money makes zero sense. That's like if in Red Dead 1, instead of sacrificing yourself, you had the choice to just fucking book it.
Oh, look how many there are. They're gonna kill us, aren't they?
No, I ain't gonna let that happen.
I ain't gonna let that happen.
Too close!
See ya! The money ending was just strange. It starts out by you chasing Micah and Dutch's disembodied voices through the forest. It's not really clear if it's meant to be Arthur hallucinating or if they're actually just shouting at you or what. It was also really glitchy. Look at Micah during Arthur's big final cutscene, saying 2 sentences at once for some reason.
Snake!
Okay,
got me
and you're a
good,
vulture.
Black Lung.
Robbing Dutch after all he's done for you.
Let's end this!
If there's one cutscene I would want to get right, it would be the one where the main character dies after like 200 hours of gameplay. A lot of people didn't like the slower epilogue missions, but I didn't mind them. I think those missions were probably miserable for anyone who hadn't played Red Dead 1 though. Couldn't be me. To me, those missions gave a really good sense of time passing. When you finally see Micah again, it does feel like a very long time has passed. It is mental how Uncle gets kidnapped from the house and cooked alive, but the very next scene is John moving his family in. That is mental to me. John left that part out of his letter for some reason. Uncle met the neighbours. They even cooked him a roast. I know Charles says, we probably killed most of them, I guess, maybe. But that's still completely insane, John. Your family, John, does not have a good track record when it comes to getting kidnapped. Why does Uncle get burnt alive anyway? I thought maybe it was to explain why John keeps him around, but aside from one piece of camp dialogue, Uncle dying for our sins is never actually mentioned again. The game's iconic weirdness continues right up until the ending of the epilogue. You've got some anime moments like Charles coming in perfectly, saving us, and then Charles and Sadie both getting injured so John can have that cool moment and say, just me. John, they're right there.
Well, maybe after all this is over, I'll go pay her a call. And the boy.
Whatever you say.
John choosing revenge leads the Pinkertons right to him, setting in motion the events of Red Dead 1. So with his own actions, he dooms himself and his family. I like Charles and Sadie, but they got away with everything. Them dying would have heavily reinforced the anti-revenge theme. And John's just me line would have been way cooler too, because it would have actually been just him. Also, look at the size of that knife. There's no way you're surviving that. Anyway, for the last big scene, they decided to really throw a curveball by taking someone hostage. Though in the end, Dutch saw all the team killing that Micah was doing and said, hey, that looks fun. So he tried out for himself. Sadie had no business being there. She just kind of stumbles around, her organs hanging out, refusing to shoot the guy that we came here to shoot. Also, I don't know if Dutch was just hiding inside at the door or what, just waiting for his cue. All in all, I think it's both the best and worst ending Rockstar have made for the last decade. It's also the only ending they've made for the last decade.